Hi, friends. Welcome back to today's episode of Life with Loverly. Today is the day where I'm finally going to share the secret that we've been keeping.
Jeez Louise, finally.
Feels like it's been almost 2 years in the making.
I feel like it started really, if you think about it, 3 years ago. And I know you're going to probably tell the story, but when you moved to Athens.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah. So we lived in Atlanta and then we had Collins. For those of you new to the podcast, I am originally from Athens, Georgia, which is where we currently live. But after college, I moved to Atlanta, lived in Atlanta, met Chris. We lived in like Alpharetta, Roswell area and had Collins. After we had her, we were like, we actually really want to get closer to family. All my family still lives here. So we kind of like, it was such weird times when we were moving to Athens because we listed our house for sale in Alpharetta the week before the world shut down.
Yeah.
Which was like not ideal timing. Yes. And at that point, we were under contract on a house in Athens, contingent on the sale of our current house. And thankfully, like the owners of the house were so amazing and they were building. And so they were planning to move to a rental. So they were super flexible with like the moving time. But we were kind of like trying to get to Athens because I was pregnant with Hazel. When we ended up moving, I had her 2 weeks later. So it was just like wild times. But when we moved, we were very specific on like a 1 mile radius of like where we wanted to live in Athens. And it was very close to my parents. And so there really weren't like a lot of options. However, the house that we found and that we're currently in has been like everything that we needed. Like it was truly a God thing that we got this house and it is so amazing. I've loved it, but it's just not exactly what we need.
Well, and you got here to get here.
Right. We came here with the knowing like this was not going to be our forever home.
Yeah.
And knowing that it was like a great fit for our family right now, but that we were eventually going to want like a bigger yard, or there's just some like key things that we needed, which I think is also one of the reasons that like the family who lived there before us moved out because they got to the point where they were like, we need some of these other things. So we are moving, which is so exciting. We're actually in the process of building right now. It's kind of like a long and crazy story.
We'll give them the short version because I think it's hilarious and amazing how it all worked out.
Yeah. So when another like great part of moving to Athens and like the part of Athens that we moved into was we were in walking distance from my best friend and her family. So they lived like all within a mile, like my parents lived, and then my best friend Shay and her family lived, and then we lived. And so we would always meet up on Saturday mornings with our kids in the stroller, walk and grab coffee, just like walk all around, be back and forth between each other's houses all the time. So like moving to Athens and then having like your best friend live like right close by was like amazing. So we had been living in Athens for, I guess it was a year. They came to us and they were like, hey, so we are actually going to put our house for sale. We found this lot in a neighborhood that we really want to get into. And so we're going to be moving. And we were kind of like, oh, bummer. You know, like they had also just recently redid their house. And I do have plans to have Shay on the podcast and kind of share her side of this story too in future weeks. So that is coming. But we were sort of like, well, I guess we got to move too. Kind of joking, but also kind of like knowing what our backstory was and that there were just some things that our house didn't have that would like be better for our family or be better for our business, which, you know, I mean, both Chris and I work in the Loverly Gray world. And there's just some things that like if we had, you know, the ability to like work from home and it really makes sense, how could we do that in a future home? So we kind of loosely started just being like, okay, well, they're moving, great. Like, love y'all. enjoy. And the neighborhood they were moving into, they like bought the last lot in the neighborhood. So there was like no even option for us to like get in there and potentially like build or move or be close to them. So we just started loosely looking for like, what could this look like for us? Where do we want our kids to go to school? Like started having these conversations because our kids are getting to be that age. And we got word that there was somebody in the same neighborhood as they are that had a lot and was going to be potentially moving to another house in the neighborhood. And so we were just kind of like, hey, if anything comes up, you know, I feel like all of the neighbors kind of knew we were also potentially looking.
There's a lot of talk about that. Like, tell so-and-so, tell so-and-so.
Literally, Chris would be like on the golf course and I'd be like, don't forget to mention, like, if they know this person and they want to sell, like, let us know.
Seriously.
So somebody in the neighborhood ended up moving out of the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And the people that owned a lot ended up buying that house.
And this was the this was the only other lot because everything else had been built on.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of the other houses had like actual homes already existing. Shay got the one lot. Mm-hmm. There was another lot that somebody was like about to start building. They had already finalized all their plans with their architect. Like everything was good to go. Well, then they ended up moving into this other house. So then the lot was available. So then Chris and I were like, if you don't have plans to sell your lot to anybody else, like we will buy it. And so we bought this lot in December of 22, I think it was.
Yes.
No, December of 21.
Yes. Okay.
So we were just like, well, we're not in a rush. Let's just like really figure out what we're going to do. It felt good to like have like a base. Meanwhile, Shay is like getting their plans and they're hopefully going to start building their house soon and all of that. So we start working with an architect and start coming up with like everything that we're looking for. And this gets us into like last summer. Mm-hmm. So summer of 22 is when we're like kind of in the middle. We hadn't finalized our plans yet, but
it was
like
just getting really close.
Yeah, we were like, okay. And it was kind of interesting because building a house is like, I mean, it's a lot. And there's like, you can make a list of like, here's all of the like wish list. But like you start putting that all in a house and it's like, okay, like that's not possible.
Yes.
Or we need to give something because building costs were like kind of high.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was so many factors that it was like, okay, well, what do we maybe like want to take off this list? What is like most important to keep on it? You know, so we're going back and forth. And then the like most exciting thing happened. And the house that is literally next door to Shay, those people were going to be moving and their house was going to become available. And I like heard through the grapevine, like literally, I don't even know how I found this out like so early on in their process of thinking about it. And I feel like I had a little bit of skin in the game because we already like owned a piece of property in the neighborhood. Yeah. So I was kind of like, man, you know, this house is already existing and it had a lot of the like our wish list items. And it was on like such a better piece of property.
I was going to say the pluses. There were so many more things that were going to be capable.
Yes. Just like, and then not to mention literally being next door to my best friend, which is like, we're still like, this is going to be so crazy when we can just walk out our driveway or like into the front entrance on her side, you know? I mean, it's crazy. So we end up going to look at it, taking our builder who was like working on building working with our architect on our current plans, taking him to this house to be like, there's a few things we want to like shift around and do, like, is it possible? And then like we put an offer in, like literally within like a 24-hour period. It was because we knew like if they put this house on the market, it would like go. Mm-hmm. And so
Don't fret, guys, because someone else heard that this might be going on and they were ready to take the piece of property up front.
So it was just so wild. So we ended up selling our lot that we had to another family. And so since last August is when we closed on the house, we've been doing renovation on it to get it. It kind of needed some updating.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't necessarily my style, but like, again, the piece of property was just something we could not pass up. And there were a few things about our like previous plans that were super unique to like my needs and my job that we needed to make happen in this house, but that had like the perfect footprint for a lot of this. So we are like in the middle right now. I think we've got about 7 months to go with just like all of what is happening and all the changes that we're kind of making. And it's going to look like a completely different house, I think, once it's all said and done. And it's like a wild ride.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're pretty invested in it with me just because like, as my like right hand, she's been very involved in like some of the design meetings and all of the like just going on site and walking through things and thinking through things like, okay, but like, how is this really going to work for the business? Or like, how are we going to, you know, we need to create a space that has like a lot of good natural light for shooting content in your office. Like, there's so many things I feel like you've been involved in too.
Yeah. It's been so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun to see everything literally fall into place, though.
Yeah, that's the like wild thing about it, you know, and I think just knowing that we're going to be so close to our best friends and
your families are going to grow up together. Like, the kids are so close already.
So much about that is like, just makes me so happy. And it's like, if I would have looked back in, you know, 2021 when they were like, we're moving, like there's no way we could have set this situation up because it took a lot of like moving parts to even get it to happen, which is why I feel like it's such a wild story. So once we actually like move in, and they are almost finished their house, so they will be moving in really soon. And I was telling her the other day, I was like, I think I'm gonna have so much FOMO in between like the time you live here and the time like until we move in. But yeah, I'm like, cannot wait. We're working with a design team in Atlanta, Truth & Co., who has been amazing helping us just with like selections of all of the things. Like
every detail you never knew building would entail.
I mean, for those of you guys who've like built houses in the past and like do this all yourselves, like it is amazing. Like, honestly, kudos, because it takes so much.
It's overwhelming.
So overwhelming. My parents have built houses in the past. Like whenever we moved, it was because like we moved into a different house and they just were kind of very particular. And, you know, we just moved not often. I think I only moved like 2 times with them growing up. But I just remember the building process being like so specific and so long and like, but you kind of have to make a decision quickly on certain things. And especially now with like, I feel like the way things change.
Sell out. I mean, everything.
Yeah. So they've been incredibly helpful with that process and has really taken like a weight off of my shoulder to just be able to, you know, focus on other things that I need to be focusing on.
And the builders, contractors.
Yeah.
I'm like words. They are the same ones that did The Office.
Yes.
And so you're in good hands.
Yes, they are. We had an amazing experience with them building out our office space. And even before we started this project, we were working with them to build like on the lot. And so then when we were like, actually, we have this commercial space. Can you guys help us here? And so it was really nice to finish this project with them, knowing like the caliber of work that they do and then having that same experience. I mean, we're in the middle of it right now, but we're just so excited. Like the kids are so pumped. Like where we live now, we just don't have a lot of outside space.
Right.
And so we do have more yard and just more space there. So
I'm
think,
so excited to see them experience it daily. You know, they get so excited whenever they go over there now, just like checking it out. But once everything's finished, it'll be their space.
I'm just cannot. Like sometimes I'm like, this is like pinch me. Like all of this hard work that I've literally been doing for years with this business is like going into something that we're going to be able to like have and look back on and just like this is what I'm working so hard for, you know, my family and this. And I'm just excited. Like, I can't wait to have Shay on the podcast in a few weeks to talk about like her building experience, because they're almost done. Like, they're going to be moving in like 2 weeks. So I thought it would be kind of helpful for her to come on and talk about like her process and like what being in the house, like what she's wished she would have done differently. But I feel like there's obviously so many people who've built houses in the past and like people have so much good tips on like what to do or make sure you have an outlet here. So definitely stay tuned to Instagram, because I think even on Loverly Gray, once this information goes over there, you guys are hearing it first. Yeah. That I really want to like make this a community. And like, for those of y'all who have built before, like share your tips and tricks. For those of y'all who are going to be building, we'll share like, this is where you should put outlets, or don't forget to do XYZ, or, you know, this paint color works really great if you have like a shaded area or whatever. I feel like there's so many just like, so much good information out there that I want to be able to have some of those conversations. But yeah, it's been a fun little secret to keep, but now it's out, and I can't wait to take you guys along for some of the ride and the process and show y'all some behind the scenes. And we've got some good before and after photos that we'll be able to show, because it's literally like changing, like the footprint is like becoming different out like inside of the walls. It's going to be great. So a few months we'll be moving, but we're really close to where like we currently live. So we're not moving, you know, out of like the city or anything like that.
You've definitely inspired me to start looking.
I know, you come on over here. I feel like
that's the next thing. It's already on the goal list. Thanks, Robert.
I know, right? Sorry about that, Robert. No, Athens area is amazing. Yeah. Like, it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm influencing you to come on over.
I'll take it. Give me some land out here. Come on.
Anyway, we love you guys, and I'm happy to share this news. Make sure you're following along on Instagram, because I know we'll be sharing just some more behind the scenes and pictures and tips and just like different things as we get like heavy into the process over these next few months.
It'll be fun.